Hello YouTube, we're back with another episode of Pyle Ponders.
Hello.
That's Pyle.
That's me.
I've got a new case for him. I have the ghost file. Green screen ain't working properly. Let's get on with it.
What we got this week?
This week is
Buzzing.
a new case. Have you ever heard of the Philadelphia experiment?
It does ring a bell, but I'm not sure.
Well, this was potentially I think it was a secret military experiment run by the what government?
Not America.
It is America again. Yeah,
Is it?
Is the American government.
Is it in Philadelphia as well?
Yes, I believe so.
Would make sense.
It's either that or it was an experiment on cream cheese. But like I said, I haven't read through
That's
this
more
one
believable.
Yet, so I'm going to be discovering this with you in real time. Right. So the Philadelphia experiment is an alleged military experiment supposed to have been carried out by the US Navy at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia.
Nice, yeah.
Pennsylvania, sometime around October 28th, 1943. So we're talking mid-war.
Yeah, nice.
The US Navy destroyer escort USS Eldridge was claimed to have been
Terrifying
rendered.
name.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was claimed to have been rendered invisible or cloaked to enemy devices. Like proper Star Trek shit, apparently. In 1943,
Okay.
this happened as well. Not recently.
Is it saying invisible or just from radar?
No, she's saying rendered invisible or cloaked to enemy devices. So I don't know. But this is, this is 1943. So this is pre Roswell crash.
They didn't
So
just say, all right, everyone, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Like little magic
Can't-
trick. Yeah.
can't see
No
it.
peeking.
But the story first appeared, I like the wording, the story first appeared in 1955 in letters of unknown origin sent to a writer and astronomer, Morris K. Jessup.
Strong name.
Yeah. It is widely understood to be a hoax. The US Navy maintains that no such experiment was ever conducted. Well, they would say that, though, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
It's like the Roswell incident when they said, yeah, no, we've got an alien aircraft flying saucer, and the next day went, oh, no, we haven't. No, sorry,
nice.
we made a mistake with that one. It's a weather balloon. The details of the story contradicted well-established facts about the USS Eldridge, and the alleged claims do not conform to any known physical laws.
Okay.
So it's pretty damning right from the offset that this could be bullshit.
Yeah, to me, straight from the off when you said invisibility and 1943, I'm like thinking, yeah.
Oh God, I think that's bad. This is only episode 2, by the way.
Yeah. We're building up, are we?
We're building up to some proper weird shit.
Okay.
So, origins of the story. In 1955, astronomer and UFO researcher Morris K. Jessup, the author of the just published book, The Case for the UFO.
So he's just published his book.
Yep, he's UFO book. He's well into this stuff.
Okay.
The Case for the UFO. And this book was about unidentified flying objects, apparently.
He's not trying to promote his book or anything, is he?
No. And the exotic means of propulsion that they might use.
Exotic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. He received 2 letters from Carlos Miguel Allende, who also identified himself as Carl M. Allen in another correspondence. So at the moment, they kind of be consistent with their aliases.
Yeah.
He claimed to have witnessed a secret World War II experiment at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. In this experiment, Allende claims that the destroyer escort USS Eldridge was rendered invisible, teleported to New York, teleported to another dimension where he encountered aliens, and teleported through time, resulting in the deaths of several sailors, some of whom fused with the ship's hull.
Can you go start that from the beginning?
Right. Because there's a great bit at the end of this as well. Right. So in this experiment, Allende claimed the USS Eldridge.
So he's snuck in. He's saying
he must have done to be able to see it, because I could understand if he said he saw it go invisible, but then he'd have to be on it to know this next step.
Then go to New York as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he claimed it got rendered invisible, teleported to New York, then made a stop off at another dimension where he encountered aliens, then teleported through time.
Did he just make the stop off?
I have no idea. So this would then result in the deaths of several sailors, some of whom were fused to the ship's hull. So I'm assuming the atoms all got confused and they literally, like in
Pirates of the Caribbean, this.
Right, sounds
Flying Dutchman.
Yeah. Jessup dismissed Allende as a crackpot. So yeah, he didn't have much faith in him or in the story. In early 1957, Jessup was contacted by the Office of Naval Research, or the ONR, in Washington, D.C., who had received a parcel containing a paperback copy of The Case for the UFO in a manila envelope marked Happy Easter. Like a nice present from somebody. The book had been extensively annotated in its margins, written with 3 different shades of pink ink. I don't know why that's relevant. Appearing to detail, or maybe it's made out of pink powder.
Oh, from
Pink ink
that.
from pink powder, that's what it is.
Here's the link.
There's a clue. Appearing to detail a correspondence among 3 individuals, only one of whom given a name Jemmy. The ONR labelled the other 2 Mr. A and Mr. B.
Do you reckon that's their real names? Just complete fluke coincidence.
Must be, yeah. Just what looks like the Men in Black, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like J,
yeah.
K. The annotators referred to each other as gypsies and discussed 2 different types of people living in outer space. The text contained non-standard use of capitalisation and punctuation and detailed a lengthy discussion of the merits of various elements of Jessup's assumptions in the book. So they're writing in code by the sounds of it. For unknown reason so far. There were oblique references to the Philadelphia experiment. One example is that Mr. B reassures his fellow annotators who have highlighted a certain theory which Jessup advanced. Based on handwriting style and subject matter, Jessup concluded a large part of the writing was Allende's, and others have the same conclusion, that the 3 styles of annotations are from the same person using 3 pens. So, in layman's terms, it's one bloke pretending to be 3,
Trying to get away with...
trying to look a bit more special about it. So, it's not looking good again. I like the way I started this series, thinking this is supposed to convince Pyle that these things exist, and it's having the opposite effect. As I'm beginning to think there's a lot of bullshit.
You've picked the worst ones.
I know.
A ship that's gone invisible, gone to New York and a different dimension,
Yeah, it's not
and
going
people
well.
have fused to its hull.
I wanted to go into these things kind of as blind or semi-blind. I mean, I'd heard of this, but not looked into it this deeply, and I wanted it to be sort of fresh for me as well as for you.
Yeah,
And,
try and convince me.
oh my god, this is making the hills look incredible.
Yeah.
Right, where are we? The ONR funded a small printing of 100 copies of the volume by the Texas-based Vero Manufacturing Company, which later became known as the Vero Edition, which the annotations therefore known as the Vero Annotations. So they were so interested in it, they've actually printed and published.
Maybe
the
they
books
thought
with
it
the
was such a
annotations.
good story, they'd make some money off it.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it. And it'd be like this plausible deniability stuff for the government as well. Say, this is what nonsense we have to deal with. Here you go, have a bit of that.
I think the only thing going in these stories' favours that in the 40s and 50s, there weren't big horror films, were there? Different dimensions, all these things were in the public eye.
It's literally, 30 years before Star Wars came out?
Yeah, that's the only thing that's got going in its favour. But...
And as well, and the US government have got a long-standing history of lying about everything and doing some proper shady experiments as well.
Yeah.
Like what they've done with MK Ultra and trying to have sleeper agents and dosing people with LSD.
Yeah,
dosing soldiers with
most
LSD.
governments used LSD though.
Well, yeah, but the Yanks they went
Takes
for
the
it.
max.
They went for it, yeah. All right. Jessup tried to publish more books on the subject of UFOs, but was unsuccessful, losing his publisher and experiencing a succession of downturns in his personal life, which led him to commit suicide in Florida on April 3rd, 1959. So he's had a shitty couple of years there.
Oh, yeah.
So the experiment was allegedly based on an aspect of some unified field theory. So this is sounding intense for especially the 40s. This sounds intense for like now.
Considering they'd only really just come up with radar.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So unified field theory, a term coined by Albert Einstein to describe a class of potential theories. Such theories would aim to describe mathematically and physically the interrelated nature of forces. These forces via electromagnetism and gravity, in other words, uniting their respective fields into a single field. So, I mean, I can't even picture what that means. I mean, that's above me.
Yeah, and it says about like potential theories.
Yeah,
as well, which is always a
vague
term.
But to be fair, when it does come from Einstein, it does give it some weight. At least the theory behind it, anyway, not the actual idea of
what they're applying it to,
making a ship go invisible. According to some accounts, unspecified researchers thought some version of this field would enable using large electrical generators to bend light around an object via refraction, so that the object became completely invisible. The Navy regarded this of military value, and it sponsored the experiment. So
I expect, that sounds like there's some plausibility to that.
I think what we're seeing here, this is the genesis of where the experiment myth came from, about what they're actually doing. Because actually, from a military point of view, it makes total sense to try this.
Oh yeah,
and
I've got no doubt that experiments have been tested, and you see them now, like these like mirrored cars, don't you? That you can't see, like they test them out in the desert and things, but this is 60, 70 years later.
Yeah, and still not great.
Yeah,
but another unattributed version of the story proposes that the researchers were preparing magnetic and gravitational measurements of the sea floor to detect anomalies, supposedly based on Einstein's attempts to understand gravity. In this version, there are also related secret experiments in Nazi Germany to fight anti-gravity, allegedly led by SS Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Can you say it again?
I think I absolutely know that. Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler.
Sounds like some sort of Monty Python character. Biggest Dickus.
Oh, that is the most German title ever. But this has also some merit as well. I mean, the idea of trying to measure downwards to the seafloor, again with German U-boats and stuff, that makes sense. That to take them early. And
some of the oasis takes too far.
There's been plenty of paperwork come out of Germany that the anti-gravity stuff, the Germans were definitely looking at it as well. Again, their rocket engineers were the best around.
Yeah.
And that's, have you ever heard of the Glocker?
No.
I think it was called the Glocker, which is like the German UFO experiment.
Okay.
Maybe it's one for the future.
Yeah.
It kind of links to that, I think, what they're saying, because they were definitely playing about with anti-gravity stuff, or trying to anyway. There are no reliable what was a word I can't say? There are no reliable accounts, but in most of the accounts of the supposed experiment, the USS Eldridge was fitted with the required equipment at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Testing began in the summer of 1943, and it was supposedly successful to a limited extent. One test resulted in Eldridge being rendered nearly invisible, with some witnesses reporting a greenish fog appearing in its place.
What's these are unreliable reports?
Yeah.
These ones.
Yeah, they don't know where they've come from. But this greenish fog is one of the things I've heard before, that that's what it did do. Which, I suppose it's no different than a smoke grenade, really. If that's what happened, if you can do that at sea, then fair enough, that'd work.
Yes.
But apparently it goes on to say it was rendered nearly invisible. Someone is reporting that the greenish fog appeared in its place. So I'm assuming they're trying to say that it
disappeared.
Replaced it.
Yeah.
Which is probably not the case.
But I suppose at the time, you think at the time they didn't have all this sort of stuff. So if you see that for the first time, your initial thought might be, it's disappeared and it's been replaced, rather than it's just covering it.
I don't know though, because we're not dealing with cavemen in 40s. People would have seen fog before.
Yeah, but green fog.
I think more people would have been concerned as why is the fog green?
Yeah,
as opposed to the massive ships disappeared and there's some green fog.
That's a lot of green fog as well.
Yeah,
cover that bad boy.
Yeah. Crew members complained of severe nausea afterwards. Also, reportedly, when the ship reappeared, some sailors were embedded in the metal structures of the ship, including one sailor who ended up on a deck level below where he'd begun, and his hand embedded in the steel hull of the ship, as well as some sailors who went completely bananas.
Some sort of chemical that's burnt them.
This is actually embedded into the metal.
but that could always just be a bit of a
But I've heard
dramatisation.
Yeah, this sort of thing apparently can happen with like phasing and stuff. So you imagine like where they're trying to change the frequency, the vibration,
Okay.
people phase through it, and then the experiment stops, and then they're literally stuck in it. Is what they're trying to say. Which could be possible. That could be why like old Viking ships and old pirate ships had like the woman at the front, in the wood. Maybe they were trying to say, "Oh, this shit was real once."
That's what it was. Yeah. The old lady at the front.
The pirates knew. Right. There is also a claim the experiment was altered after the point at the request of the Navy, limiting it to creating a stealth technology that would render the USS Eldridge invisible to radar. None of these allegations have ever been independently sustained. So it's bollocks, I think, is what we're going with.
Yeah.
Well, or the extreme nature of it is bollocks. I think they were using anti-radar technology.
Or the Americans they did it, and right now there are ships going around the world invisible.
By now they'd be in space, wouldn't they? Yeah. That's what they were just so many steps forward. I think this is all. They were experimenting with anti-radar, things like that. Yeah. Sailors feeling sick could be like the infrasound and the feels coming off that.
If there was some sort of green fog, they could be practicing with some sort of different chemicals as like smoke grenades and becoming ill with that and going, we won't use that again. I think it's quite like I think this is a real experiment that the myth has blown it way out of proportion as to what it actually was. Chinese whispers, year on year, people expand the story and add something to it.
Yeah. The conjecture then claims that the equipment was not properly recalibrated, but that in spite of this, the experiment was reported on October 28th, 1943. This time, the Eldridge not only became invisible, but it disappeared from the area in a flash of blue light and teleported to Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. It is claimed the Eldridge sat for some time in view of men aboard the ship, the SS Andrew Furuseth, whereupon the Eldridge vanished and then reappeared in Philadelphia at the site it had originally occupied. It was also said that the warship went approximately 10 minutes back in time.
Just to add some extra. Yeah. Not only has it teleported and come back, but back 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, this is fucking crazy. This is not the 60s, 70s, or the 80s, don't forget. This is the 40s, pre-Roswell, pre-microchip, I think, back then. I mean, there's absolutely no way he was doing this. It's bullshit. This is annoying me reading it now. I should have picked a better episode. This is crap. I don't even believe this. And I nearly believed the Hills. Historian Mike Dash notes that many authors who publicised the Philadelphia experiment story after that of Jessup appear to have conducted little or no research of their own. Through the late 70s, for example, Alendi Allen was often described as mysterious, difficult to locate. But Gurman determined Alendi's identity after only a few phone calls.
So not that difficult.
No.
Not that mysterious.
I respect that much of the key literature emphasises dramatic embellishment rather than pertinent research. Burlett's and Moore's account of the story, the Philadelphia Experiment Project Invisibility, claimed to include factual information.
So who's called it Project Invisibility?
This Burlett and Moore, they've done a book.
Okay.
Right, so this is another story. I'm
sure if that was they were doing an experiment, they wouldn't call it that.
No. Well, I don't know. They claim to include factual information such as transcripts of an interview with a scientist involved in the experiment. But their work has also been criticised for plagiarising key story elements from the novel Thin Air, which was published a year earlier. So they're not even trying. They're just literally making things off sci-fi stories and we'll put that in there. Misunderstanding of documented naval experiments. Personnel at the 4th Naval District have suggested that the alleged event was a misunderstanding of a routine research during World War II at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. An earlier theory was that the foundation of the apocryphal stories arose from degaussing experiments, which have the effect of making a ship undetectable and invisible to magnetic mines. Another possible origin of the stories about levitation and transportation and the effects on human crew might be attributed to experiments with
LSD,
the generating plant of the destroyed USS Timmerman, whereby a higher frequency generator produced corona discharges. Oh, topical link. Although none of the crew reported suffering effects from the experiment. So I think that's what it says. It's like ultrasound and being under frequencies and stuff making people feel sick. You can, in certain circumstances with high EMF and things like that, start to feel hallucinate or feel sick and stuff. Pretty common. Observers have argued that it is inappropriate to grant credence to an unusual story promoted by one individual. In the absence of corroborating evidence, Robert Gurman wrote in Fate magazine in 1980 that Carlos Allende, or Carl Allen, who is said to have been the correspondent with Jessup, was Carl Meredith Allen of New Kensington, Pennsylvania, who had an established history of psychiatric illness, and who may have fabricated the primary history of the experiment as a result of his mental illness. Gurman later realised that Allen was a family friend and a creative and imaginative loner, sending bizarre writings and claims. So again, credible bloke. Another story.
I suppose the thing is, obviously, it's a bloke who's got some sort of mental issues. But it's America. Why is it all these stories that always come from America?
I don't understand how these blow up to become such a big thing. Because this is a huge story. It's quite well known, and just from one bloke writing absolute bullshit.
I suppose a lot of people are gullible and want to believe these things.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that these sort of experiments have taken place over years, and they've tried all these things.
Do you know what? I think we should do like an experiment on the channel where we'll go down Ramsgate Harbour and both of us pretend to be independent people, claim that we've seen a mermaid in the harbour, and see how many idiots believe us.
Yeah, we can also dress up in disguises and be extra witnesses.
Oh yeah, in 20 years' time we'll be running a little museum down here around called the Ramsgate Mermaid Museum.
Ramsgate Mermaid.
Yeah, we'll have like a skeleton of a monkey with a fish tail. Right? Yeah. This is the kid of the real one.
We found it.
Yeah. How these things come about, I never know. Right, the timeline inconsistencies. The USS Eldridge was not commissioned until August 27th, 1943, and it remained in port in New York City until September 1943. The October experiment allegedly took place while the ship was on its first shakedown cruise in the Bahamas, although proponents of the story claim that the ship's logs might have been falsified or else still be classified. So it's only the logs that say it wasn't there, so that could be military-wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that they credence one way or the other, really. The ONR stated in September 1996, ONR has never conducted investigations on radar invisibility either in 1943 or at any other time. Bullshit. Of course you have.
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not very good at denying stuff, are they? Just going, no, we've never done anything like that. It's not
I suppose if that's where they're lying, is just to say no to everything.
Yeah, but if this is in 1996 as well, I said that. Who is going to believe that the Navy doesn't conduct experiments on being invisible to radar and things like that? Of course you're the military.
But that's just their way of just saying we say no to everything. Yeah. That way people can't say otherwise.
Yeah. No, we don't put guns on our ships.
Yeah.
We don't never have put guns on our ships.
Yeah.
Right, a reunion of Navy veterans who had served aboard the Eldridge told a Philadelphia newspaper in April 1999 that their ship had never made port in Philadelphia. Further evidence discounting the Philadelphia experiment timeline comes from the USS Eldridge's complete World War II action report, including the remarks sections of the 1943 deck log available on microfilm. So basically it was never there. Or it was in two places at once because of this experiment.
Because it did go back in time as well.
Yeah.
So
So
different dimension, could be anywhere.
Yeah, split in two.
That's it. That's why people fuse to it.
Yeah.
And then it fused back.
Oh, that makes
there we go.
Sense. Yeah, it's just a split dimension type thing.
Our own stories.
Oh yeah, ours would be way better than this pilot. Researcher Jacques Vallée describes a procedure on board the USS Engstrom which was docked alongside the Eldridge in 1943. The operation involved a generation of a powerful electromagnetic field on board the ship in order to deperm or degauss it, which I'm assuming is a science term for to demagnetise it or something for these magnetic mines, with the goal of rendering the ship undetectable or invisible to magnetically fused undersea mines or torpedoes. The system was invented by... by the way, they don't do these experiments, remember, the ONRCF. They've never done this. The system was invented by Canadian Charles F. Goodeve when he held rank of commander on the Royal Canadian Naval Volunteer Reserve and the Royal Navy, and other navies used it widely during World War II, but they never experimented with this stuff. But it was used widely.
They used it, just didn't experiment with it.
Yeah. It's written by Boris Johnson, this. British ships of the era often included such degaussing systems built into their upper decks. The conduits are still visible on the deck of the HMS Belfast in London, for example. Degaussing is still used today, however, it has no effect on visible light or radar. Vallée speculates that the accounts of the USS Engstrom's degaussing might have been garbled and confabulated in subsequent retellings, and that these accounts may have influenced the story of the Philadelphia experiment. So now it's not even the same shit.
I can believe that.
Yeah. And again, it goes on to say the veteran claimed that a man that Allende witnessed disappearing at a bar. This just was later on. There was also a story that Allende witnessed a sailor who had served on the Eldridge come off to go and have a drink while he was being relieved, and then disappear at the bar because of the effects of the experiment that had happened to him.
So he's observed this once. So he's a stalker right now, and he's got his binoculars out, and he's watching this one bloke go to a bar and just vanish.
Okay,
I'm with you.
Same veteran claims to be the man that Allende witnessed disappearing at a bar. He claims that when a fight broke out, friendly barmaids whisked him out of the bar before the police arrived because he was underage for drinking. They then covered for him by claiming that he had disappeared. So I mean, it's just all over the fucking place. So what I do think comes out of stories like this is for the US military, when they are conducting secret experiments that are sort of bound in some kind of realism, there's always a crackpot that will come out with some outrageous story, and it's probably the best thing for the government to go, just focus on the crackpot.
Yeah.
Focus on that story. That could be real. Let you focus on that. Or it's like a magician, like focus on the bullshit here. We can do the real stuff over here.
And I suppose then people hear the story and go, no, that's rubbish. That story's rubbish. Didn't happen. So the American government is like, seemed pretty.
Yeah. It'd be like, to me, like the stories of Area 51. If you were the military and wanted to conduct secret experiments, the one place you wouldn't actually have them is Area 51, where you keep people thinking that it's there.
Yeah.
Because all eyes are on it at all times, so it's just perfect.
And have an actual secret base.
Yeah, probably somewhere far more remote, like Alaska or underground or something. Yeah. But, so, on a scale of 1 to 10, or scale on true believer to absolute bullshit, where are you sitting with this one?
Well, I've not moved from last week to absolute BS.
Yeah, this is absolute cack. Even
I kind of feel a bit sorry for the bloke in the end after hearing his story and loading up mental issues.
They're saying he's potentially ill, but I mean, it's close to being feasible, but not quite there.
Where?
Well, in the bit where he said it was a military experiment. I believe that.
If you'd stopped there, true believer.
Oh yeah, if he stopped out, it was a strange experiment to make a ship invisible to radar in 1943. And I've been,
that's possible.
That would have made sense.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was the bit of the joyride it went on through time and space. It made me think it's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the second lot. We will get to stuff that's a little more credible and a little more harder thinking,
harder evidence.
Yeah, and stuff that's a bit more intriguing. Which we might go to like the underground mine goblins or something.
Absolutely, yeah, I've heard of
Yeah,
those.
it's footprints. look at potentially Bigfoot.
Man with Bigfoot.
Yeah,
just one.
Just one Bigfoot.
Just hobbles along.
Yeah. He hops. Just a big hopping monkey. Yeah, we'll look at a few things, but there will be things coming up that are far more interesting and thought-provoking than the time and space hopping Rick and Morty boat from 1943.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Rick and Morty.
Possibly. Went back 10 minutes, got it wrong.
Yeah.
Went back to the future.
Yeah. Gone, lost a Morty, went and got another Morty.
yeah.
But, all right, anyway, thanks for watching. Leave in the comments your take on it. If you believe this, you are a fucking idiot. But that's just my personal belief, you know. And let us know if it's something you want us to look into, or if you live around the Kent area, if you've got a haunted house, we also want to know. We're going to be conducting investigations into the paranormal to help try and convince Pyle that these things are real. I think the best way to do it is for him to see a real ghost or a real UFO.
Yeah. I will poo myself a bit, but I still won't believe. It's just going to be dark in the forest.
But anyway, thanks for watching. See you again.
Thank you. Goodbye.